Yes, lads, what is going on? And welcome to Season 5, Episode 6 of the Try Sports Podcast. It's a solo episode again, no guests, but there is a lot to talk about. If you guys can remember, the solo episodes of the podcast, or should I say the Sunday episodes of the podcast that we used to do back in, I suppose, the good old days of the podcast, where I would go through the week of training that I just had, try and record it and post it every Sunday for that week. So I try to get my long run done on a Sunday morning and then record the episode of the podcast documenting that week of training and then posting that podcast. So if you remember them, this is essentially what that's going to be. But for my first solid week of training back, or my first essentially proper week of training back since starting back running after being injured for God knows how long. I mentioned in the last solo episode of the podcast that the timeline in terms of running and the injury as a whole is kind of just all over the place. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can see the little new mic setup. We have the the orange pop filter like we had on the Rode Wireless Go in the solo episode of the podcast in Liverpool, and we have the flagpole thing that is customized with the Try Sports logo. I think it looks pretty cool. If you're listening to this episode of the podcast, head down to the show notes and you can find the link to head to the YouTube channel to see exactly what I'm talking about. While you're down in the show notes or in the description, don't hesitate to give me a follow over on the Try Sports Instagram page. The link is down below. Make sure to subscribe as well if you are watching this episode on YouTube. So yeah, like I said, this episode essentially is going to be like the Sunday episodes of the podcast that we used to do, where we would go through the week of training that we just had. So that is exactly what we're going to do today. To kick things off, I'm going to walk you all through my brand new training plan that I'm trying to follow as much as I can when the legs decide to hold up, I suppose, as they're kind of getting used to all the running again. And yeah, I'm going to walk us through the brand new training plan that we have in place that goes Monday to Sunday. It is currently Monday at the moment. I wasn't able to do the training plan today, and I'll get into that further down in the through the episode, obviously because of how I'm still recovering from last week's training. Hopefully as time goes on and my legs begin to get used to all the load in the training again, I won't need to take as much time to recover between sessions and runs. So yeah, we'll run straight through the training plan at the moment, and we'll also run through my strength and core routine that I have set up that has been working for me as much as possible. If you want to follow it, you can do so. So I start off Monday with 1 hour cycles. So my cycles are on the spin bike in the gym. Nice and easy. Monday is kind of just to help recover from the entire week of training. So yeah, a lot of cycling, a little bit of running, and a lot of core and strength and mobility work. So we start off Monday with a 1 hour cycle, and then we follow that up with some strength and core. Like I said, the cycle is nice and easy, just to let the legs tick over a little bit from the week of training that we just had. Let it get the blood flowing in them so they're not stiff. And then we follow that up with some strength and core. The strength training consists of a superset of resistant band shin exercises. So the tib exercises that I done in the track workout video. If you want to check that out, it is over on the Try Sports YouTube channel. And then I superset them with wall tib raises, where you're leaned up against the wall and you kind of just lift your toes up. They are to strengthen my shins, the tibialis, the shin muscle, of course. Muscle goes through a lot of stress while running, and it's a muscle that many runners do struggle with in terms of pain and shin splints and things like that. So I am strengthening them as much as I possibly can to avoid any further injuries within the tibialis muscle, because it is an area that when I last started back running that I did suffer with in terms of pain and stiffness, and prohibited me from running at that time. So they are two exercises. The resistant band shin exercises, that is to complete failure for 2 sets of 12, and then the wall tib raises are for 2 sets to failure again. So then I go on to another superset, and that is dumbbell lunges and dumbbell squats. I only do them at the moment. Like I said, everything I'm doing at the moment is to stay completely safe and completely injury free as much as I can. So everything that I'm doing, from the cycling, running, and the conditioning and the weights that I'm doing, it's all really light to get my legs used to the load in training again. So I'm only like holding a 7-8 kilo dumbbell in each hand when doing the lunges and dumbbell squats. So I do 2 sets of 12 for the dumbbell lunges, so that's 6 on each leg, and then I go straight into dumbbell squats, so that is 2 sets of 12 again. And then I go on to another superset. This is arguably the toughest superset of the whole workout. I do dumbbell weighted alternating jumping lunges. So that's when you're holding the dumbbells and you jump between each leg while lunging. I do that for 30 seconds. And then I go into body weight wall sits. I do them for 40 seconds, and I do that twice. And then I go on to single leg knee bend calf raises on a little step. I do that 2 sets of 12. And then I finish off with toe walks and heel walks, 2 of 1 minute of each of them exercises. So that is my full strength routine. And like I said, if you want to follow it or take some stuff out of it, I really do recommend the TIB training that I incorporated into this workout, as it has eliminated my shin pain completely. I've had absolutely zero problems, touch wood, with my shins since starting all these shin exercises. And these tibialis exercises are something that you can incorporate into your warm-up as well, as they are really, really good for activating the shin and get it ready for the load that it's going to go under once you begin your running or your session or whatever you're going into. They're really, really good to get into before you run, as well as incorporating them into your strength training. And then for core, so like I said, Monday's an hour cycle, and then it's followed with that strength workout, and then it's followed by core as well. The core is, I do my whole core exercise once. As I progress, I'm going to maybe do this exercise twice over, or this core routine twice over. Once again, the same with the strength work. As the season progresses, as I get stronger and used to all the training, I will maybe up the weight of the dumbbell lunges, maybe go on to the bar on the rack, I maybe up the reps or up the sets that I'm doing. So that is all going to come in due time. I'm really trying to focus on nailing it now and getting the body used to it now, and not rushing the process, and in doing so getting injured again. So that is kind of my mindset when it comes to how I'm training at the moment. In terms of core, I do 1 minute side plank on each side. Then I go straight into a 1 minute normal plank. Then I go into a 1 minute of toe elevations. So that's where you're lying down on your back and you just lift your toes slightly off the ground. It's a really, really tough exercise. Then I go into 30 sit-ups, 20 heel touches each side, 30 crunches, 20 each side of elbow to knees, so the kind of cycling ones, and then 20 each side Russian twist. The core at the moment isn't incorporating any weight either, and each of these exercises are one after another. There's no rest in between any of these exercises, but as I continue to maybe increase the amount of exercise that I'm doing, or the amount of reps in each exercise, or how long I'm doing for each exercise, or maybe I'll do the routine twice over, I may begin to incorporate some rest to be able to do this routine as efficiently as possible. Moving on from the 1 hour cycle strength and core on Monday, we move into Tuesday. That's a session with the team. So in terms of how the sessions with the team is going to look this year, or this season I should say, is Tuesdays we are going to be on the track. We're not going to be up in Trinity anymore. Just the loop you can do is really, really limited. So we're not going to be up in Trinity anymore. We're going to be on the track, but we're not going to be on the track like we're on the track for track season. We're going to be doing a lot longer stuff, like you'll hear now in a second, for what we done on Tuesday. We're going to be doing longer stuff, and there is not going to be any spikes worn to, again, prevent injuries. because you're not really minding the splits that you're getting, because you're not going to be doing as much speed work during cross country season. It's a lot of going to be strength work, and kind of the track will maybe give you that little bit of turnover when once it gets to the cross country races. So yeah, and on Tuesdays we're going to be on the track. Thursdays I have my 30-minute run on the grass that I do up in Abbottstown. You've seen that in the long run vlog that I just posted on my channel. You can check that out. It's the latest video. Once again, as the season progresses, I will be upping the time I'm doing on my long runs. And then Saturdays, we're going to be up in Abbottstown for our sessions bright and early in the morning. Hopefully a vlog coming for the Abbottstown session, for my routine and how I get warmed up and everything for the Abbottstown sessions and the sessions we actually do. So I'll get onto that when we get to Saturday. So yeah, that is kind of just how the training with the team is going to look over this season. So on Tuesday we done a 15-minute warm-up run in the park, and then we done 4 by 800. Well, the team done 6 by 800, I done 4 by 800. Just again trying to keep it really safe. Once I kind of maybe feel a little niggle or pain come along through the session, I'll put the brakes on, and I will stop the session. But all in all, not a bad session. The first rep I got 238, the second rep I got 239, the third rep I got 240, and then the final rep I got 242. I must say, on that final rep I was really struggling. It was really tough. But all in all, not too bad of a session for it being my first session of the cross country season. And saying that, yeah, that is my very first session of the cross country season. No pain. And the day after, I was a little bit stiff. I'll get into Wednesday now in a moment. But yeah, not too shabby, I suppose, whatsoever. 238, 239, 240, and 242. And then we done a cool down jog afterwards. How were my legs after the session? Well, right after the session, they weren't too bad. The blood had flown, the legs were loosened out. But then that evening, I got back, done a bit of foam rolling. I used a massage gun, which actually I found out is a tool that irritates my tender areas a lot. If I was doing it maybe on like my quads or my hamstrings or the like general, like the large surface area of my calf, it wouldn't be too bad. But kind of any areas that I've little niggles or really tight knots or previous injuries like my Achilles, if I was to leave the massage gun on them areas for a while, it does tend to irritate them, and I can really feel they are tender the next day. So I'm really just sticking to mobility and foam rolling, light foam rolling after my sessions. The next day, due to using the massage gun, the areas like the inside of my shin, the outside of my calf, my Achilles were all quite tight and tender. So then we move on to Wednesday. So I jumped on the bike. I done, let's see, we're going on to Wednesday. I done an hour cycle on the bike, and then I done mobility and core. Obviously, you're not going to be doing strength training every single day. Your body needs time to recover, especially after a hard session, and to allow your body to adapt to the strength training you're doing. You're not going to be doing it every day. But on Wednesdays and Fridays and Sundays, they're the days after I run each day of the week. So Wednesday, I'm after doing a session on Tuesday. Friday, I'm after doing a 30-minute run on Thursday. And then Sunday, I'm after doing the session with the team on Saturday. So on each of them days, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, I do mobility. Like I said, I'm trying to stay away from the massage gun. I find mobility in the long term does help my muscles recover and get them a little bit less tender. So on them days, I'm going to be doing mobility and core instead of strength and core, because obviously I need the time for my muscles to recover from the strength training and the core training. But as well, the mobility is great from recovering from the session or the run we had the day beforehand. So Wednesday, done an hour cycle, mobility and core. My legs were really stiff and really tight. I had a cold shower as well. But yeah, it did help though. It did help going into Thursday. When I cycled up to Abbottstown for my run on Thursday, my legs were still tight. There were some really tight knots in some specific parts of my calf and my lower leg. But once I got up to Abbottstown, I cycled up. That was a nice little warm-up. It's always a really nice warm-up cycling up to Abbottstown for the run or even for the Saturday session. When I got there, I got the warm up done and I started my run. Unfortunately, I actually forgot my watch on Thursday, so I literally just had the timer on my phone. So I didn't really have the pace or anything, but it was a 30-minute easy recovery run. A mistake I made in the past was really worrying about the pace on my Monday runs or my Wednesday runs when I was doing them, and then picking up the pace when realistically they're meant to just be recovery runs. You're meant to run how you feel, whether that means 6-minute kilometer pace or 450-kilometer pace. Whichever of them feels the most comfortable, do that. So really, the pace doesn't matter on these Thursday runs at the moment. Maybe as the season goes on and I implement a Wednesday recovery run or a Monday recovery run and I get fitter and stronger, I can do a little bit of a steadier paced, faster run on a Thursday. But for at the moment, I really don't care what the pace is like on a Thursday. So once I started that run, I could feel some tightness in the on the inside of my right calf and the outside of my left, but it wasn't anything too crazy. So I got that run done on the grass in Abbottstown. Now that leads us into Friday. Friday is mobility and strength and core. That is basically a strength and conditioning day. So that is no cardio, so not like Monday and Wednesday where I'm doing an hour cycle on both of them days, or Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday where I'm doing a run on them days. It's literally just a day to build strength and recover. Like you said, seeing the strength workout that I'm doing at the moment isn't anything too strenuous, so doing so gets the blood flowing, and it does help with recovery. I also do my mobility before I do my strength training. And I do a little bit of core as well to help build that up, and because we all know core is very important for running. So Friday, mobility, strength and core, the fundamentals of running to stay injury free and to recover and to get stronger. So that is what my Friday looks like. Strength and conditioning day with no running. Saturday with the team this week, a very, very interesting session in terms of the session itself and how I felt and how my calves felt and how I held up in this session. A bit of a upsetting session, you could say. We were meant to do 1500, 2k, 1500, but unfortunately I was only able to do 1500 and 2k. I wasn't able to complete the final 1500 rep, and that is because of these. I got the new Nike Zoom Vaporfly Next Percent 3s. Look at them, they're so light. A review is going to be coming on these a little bit later on, as I put more miles in them. Actually, I have a 5k road race coming up in Rathfarnham in a couple of weeks towards the end of the month that I'm going to be running in these. So after that, leading up to that, I'm going to do more sessions in these, and then after that Rathfarnham 5k, I'm going to put out a review on the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 3. But yeah, I ran in these on the track on Tuesday. I had no real problem. They felt really, really nice. No problem in these on the track on Tuesday. So I'm going to wear them again tomorrow. So it's currently Monday. I'm going to wear them on the session tomorrow. But when it came to the session on Saturday, now this isn't anything against the shoe. Because in all fairness, Nike never, I suppose, promoted this shoe as a cross-country training shoe. Wearing the spikes on the cross-country grass is a lot less pressure on the calves than comparing to wearing the spikes on the track. So that is what I'm going to be doing from now on, due to the fact that these gave me some really bad pain on the outside of my left calf on Saturday during the session. That is because due to like the pronation, so the ground, these are a real road shoe, a real road and track shoe. You can wear them for kind of your speed sessions on the track. Flat ground, straight, nothing like the trails or the cross country course that I was running on Saturday. Because especially up in Abbottstown where the session was, cross country courses, there's dips in the ground, they're not even whatsoever, and due to this, my left foot was pronating really bad, so it was falling in on itself. This shoe, unless you're running really fast in it, it doesn't feel stable at all. And from what I've heard from the Vaporfly lineup and the Alphafly lineup as well, is obviously they're a racing shoe. They're made to go fast. If you're going slow in this, it's really not stable. On the cross country grass, I wasn't going fast enough. The terrain was rocky, causing my left foot to pronate and fall in, and that was then causing to a pull on the outside of my left calf. So I was unable to complete the final rep. And now, don't get me wrong, I was absolutely shattered by the end of the 2K rep. But yeah, nothing against this shoe. They haven't been designed for cross country. That was, I suppose, it's a case of trial and error. But yeah, I'm gonna wear them on the track and on the roads. And then, like I said, after the Raf Farnham 5K, I will get a review made and published on the Nike Nike Vaporfly Next Percent trees. But yeah, really liking them at the moment. It was completely my mistake wearing them on the grass. They're just not made for it, and it was causing my left foot to fall in and pull on the outside of my calf. But the session wasn't too bad. The 6K, the 1500, I done it in 6 minutes and 42 seconds, and the 2K, I done it in 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Not great. I was absolutely shattered, and then we done a 15-minute cool down. And then how did I feel during the session? After the warm up and doing the strides, the inside of my my right calf was a little bit tender. The problem I was suffering with before we went on the break after track season that I speak about in the previous episode of the podcast, it was a little bit sore, a little bit tender, season up just a small bit after the warm up and before the session got started on Saturday. But once we kind of got into the session, it went away, and the kind of the pain of the outside of my calf pulling took over. So yeah, that is how the Saturday session went. Now, how did I feel, I suppose, after the session on Sunday? How did I feel yesterday? Not great. My legs were sore, they were stiff. So although on a Sunday I'm meant to do a 40-minute cycle with mobility, the mobility once again is to recover from the Saturday session, I just decided I'm not going to do anything at all. Actually, I went out with the lads from running, and we went and played a little bit of golf. I've been getting into golf recently, been really enjoying that. So if running doesn't work out this time round, you never know, you might see me in the Irish Open next year. But yeah, I was meant to be doing a 40-minute cycle and mobility on Sunday, but I decided not to. I decided, I'm going to take complete rest and let the legs kind of do their thing and recover. And what I decided last night was, you know what, I'm going to go and get a massage, because my legs were really sore. That area that was tender on the inside of my calf during the session was actually really sore after the session on Saturday and yesterday. So today I went to my local physio and got a massage on the outside of my calves and the inside of my kind of shin. And it has helped, so hopefully I'll be feeling good for the session tomorrow. That was today I got that massage, so I didn't do anything today except for get the massage, because I want to allow my legs to recover as much as possible from Saturday. Like I said in the last episode of the podcast as well, although I stated this is my last, I suppose, giving running one last try, I'm still going to be playing it smart and playing the long game. Although I'm not really injured at the moment now, I don't want to just dive straight back in and try gain fitness as quickly as possible. I'm really playing the long game and trying not to get injured again. Although I may have a shocker of a race in the Dublin Cross Country Championships this year, and maybe next year, maybe the year after. But as long as I can get a couple more years of consistent training under my belt and build back up to where I was, that will do me completely fine after the struggle I've been through over the past 2-3 years with consistent injuries. It's just been really disappointing. So any kind of niggle or pain I feel coming on, I put the brakes on a little bit. I let my body recover as much as possible, and then I go at it again, even if that means missing a day or two of training or strength training, or a run or a cycle or a core or whatever it is. I'm really trying to play it safe and playing the long game, even though that might mean not performing great in sessions or cutting the session a little bit short. I'm just trying to give it my one last best shot. So that was my week of training this week. Like I said, next week, I'm not going to be wearing the Nike Zoom Vaporfly Next Percent trees on the grass. I'm going to actually be wearing my spikes. So I'm going to be coming back next week with another episode of the podcast, another solo episode of the podcast, discussing that and how my legs held up wearing the spikes in a session for the first time in ages. So I'm going to come back and discuss that next week. I'm bringing back the the quote-unquote Sunday episodes of the podcast to track basically my trainings, basically road to the Dublin Championships, I suppose, trying to stay as injury-free and get as fit as possible between now and the Dublin Championships that I think are around October time. So we'll just see what happens over the course of the month. So I'm going to be wearing the Nike Zoom Vaporfly Next Percent trees on the track tomorrow, and then my Nike spikes on the cross country course next Saturday. So I'll keep you all up to date on how that goes. In terms of I have the Rathfarnham 5K I think coming up on the 25th of September. So that will be technically my first race of the season. Once again, quote unquote first race of the season. It is a race. It's not a park run. It's actually just a Rathfarnham 5K race. So I'll keep you all up to date once that race happens. So like I said, bringing the Sunday episodes of the podcast back, where we're going to be documenting my training, my fitness, keep an eye on injuries and niggles as we go on. On tomorrow, for training tomorrow, we have a 10 by 400 meter session. It's a 2-minute cycle. So just say, for example, I run a 400 in 80 seconds. So that's a minute and 20 seconds. That means then I get 40 seconds recovery. So every rep is on a 2-minute cycle. So once the rep starts, you have 2 minutes to complete it and recover from it, and then you go again. So once again, next week I'll let you all know how that gets on with the stats of each of them reps. But yeah, that is going to do it for this week of the solo episode of the podcast, keeping track of how training's going and how fitness is going. Basically, like I said, this is road to the Dublin Championships, trying to get as fit as possible between now and then, and as well stay completely injury free. I want to give a big thanks to Mini Athletics for sponsoring the podcast once again. All the links to Niall Fergus's Instagram is down below, Mini Athletics Ireland's Instagram down below, Mini Athletics DDS linked down below, and the Mini Athletics website. All them links are linked down below if you want to check out Mini Athletics and all they have to offer for your young kids looking to get them into athletics, where they can build teamwork skills, organisation skills. They're running, they're jumping, they're having a great time. They also, Mini Athletics can come to your school, they can come to your birthday parties, they can be just for a fun day out, they can come to your athletics club, even Kells Athletic, Mini Athletics were just recently down with the young Kells Athletics group. So they have many options and facilities to offer you all. So like I said, all the links can be found down in the description below, and a big thank you to them for sponsoring the podcast. Once again, a lot to come though, so it's an exciting time. There's a lot to come. There's a lot more training to be done. There's a review on the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent trees to come. There's the Rathfarnham 5K, and ultimately there's the Dublin Championships that I want to race in. So that is something that is really going to these Sunday episodes, or these episodes of the podcast that are going to be tracking my training and my fitness and my progression, are really just going to be a training log, a training diary, all the way up until the Dublin Championships. And when we get there and we race, we can kind of look back and see how far we've come in terms of the training and fitness over the couple of weeks that we get under the belt. And as well, I am starting college in DCU, studying journalism. So a big ambition of mine is to be able to race with DCU again for the coming academic year. So that is something that I'd really like to be able to do. So that won't happen unless I take it slow, I'm nice and careful, and I get some nice training under my belt. So a lot to come. It is a very exciting time. I hope everyone watching or listening, your training is going really well, and you have some races on your horizons. Like I said, I have the Rathfarnham 5K, the Dublin Championships, and as well hoping to race with DCU for the coming academic season. But that is going to do it for this episode of the podcast. If you liked it, make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on my Instagram account. The link is down in the description below. But with all that said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.